Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Constantly Calibrating Podcast, as always, live on Mixer. I am your host, Josh, joined by my special guest, founder of Super Forum Gamescast, and master of the dunking art, John Phipps. I've literally been trying, ever since you had that tweet pinned about dunking and stuff like that, I'm like, I need to figure out what am I going to call John, and then I forgot about it until 20 minutes ago.
I've actually like every time I tell myself I'm going to dunk less, just because it's, like there is a certain element of stress for it for me too, simply because it fills my feed with negativity.
Yeah.
Every time I tell myself I'm going to dunk less, I do it, I'll hold to it for a day or two, and then I'll see something incredibly stupid, some idiot, and I'm like, okay, I can't fucking not dunk on you. Right. Like I've just got to, it's like you're passing me the ball, and now I'm in the paint, and now I've got to just get in there and drive that thing home. So, yeah, no, dude, it's good to be here. Long time coming.
Long time coming. I mean,
you've been on SDGC a few times now.
Yeah, I've been on the SDGC twice, and then you and I've been on OK Beast together. So it's like
we have.
It's been a while trying to work out stuff to get you on the show. I also
want to point out two former hosts of Kind of Funny Games Daily right here together.
It's kind of crazy. It's
kind of crazy, right? Yeah, there's a whole new thing here.
Yeah,
dude, like we got to start the Kind of Crazy show.
The Kind of Crazy show. I have ideas,
right?
Well, that's what you and I have talked about, putting a show together with a bunch of the other small to medium content creators who are affiliated with the Kind of Funny sphere. So that's what the show's called. It's
just a matter of trying, being able to get everybody on the same page. It's so difficult.
It's both timing and literally getting people to just go with it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of moving gears and stuff like that. It's kind of what is kind of crazy about all this is the fact that when I met you and we started talking about plans to have you on a podcast, have me on your shows, and do all this stuff, we were just guys who, you were part of the Kind of Funny Intersite tournament, and my creative director, Justin, was part of it. And that was the extent of it. That was what it was. And now in that intervening 3 months, now we're Kind of Funny Games Daily co-hosts, guest co-hosts.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man.
The direction life takes you, and
I know, right? I mean, it's interesting. That meme that's been going around on Twitter the past day. It's tweet a picture of yourself from the beginning of the year, and then tweet a picture of yourself now. Yeah, and I was like, had you asked me at the beginning of the year, would I be co-hosting Kind of Funny Games Daily with Greg Miller, I'd have laughed in your face and called you a moron. I'd have been like, of course, get the fuck out of here, would you? Come on, what are you, crazy? But now that now it's actually happened, and dude, it's for you too, man. Talk about a kind of a wild ride.
It's a wild ride. Well, no, I was thinking the same thing. I saw you were the first person I saw tweet that, that whole thing, and then I thought to myself, shit, I could literally do the exact same thing. I have a picture of myself in front of a microphone, in front of my computer, in my monitor, almost the exact same style of picture, and then I have the exact same picture of me and Greg. So it's
yeah,
it's I kind of just want to, so I've been I've been meaning to look through my pictures for just the old picture, just so I can do that, because it's insane. Because again, same thing as you. If you said, hey Josh, by the way, later this year you're going to be hosting Kind of Funny Games Daily with Greg Miller, I'd be like, you mean Greg's going to give me a tour of the studio? That's cool. No, you're hosting it. But I just wanted a tour.
You did a bang up job too, man. You did a great job.
So did you, dude. I still say that right now you were, I would say, in the top 3 best non-major co-hosts, if that makes sense. The people who are not established hardcore in this industry who've come on as guests. You and Aiden and Snowbike Mike are my top 3 people who've.
I would agree with you. I would put Aiden at the top.
Aiden was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Aiden was better than I was.
You came in on an episode that had insane breaking news.
That was fortuitous.
You lucked out because that gave you the best in for a true conversation with Greg Miller.
Well, and to actually it's one thing to watch Greg just totally flip out about the PlayStation news like that on a stream, but it's another thing entirely to be there with him and feel that positive energy. It was really, really cool. It was really cool because that's just Greg. That's what he does, and everybody's used to Greg being high energy. All go no quit, 100% of the time. whenever Greg is doing anything, for kind of funny, be it, live at a con or on the show, he's always giving 110%. And it's one thing to see that on a podcast, but it's another thing to be sitting like 2 feet from him when he's doing it. Like it was pretty epic, man. It was pretty incredible. And like what are the odds, right? Like I go on there and all of a sudden there's this huge earth-shattering PlayStation news that that literally changes the game going forward in a lot of ways for the biggest gaming show in the industry.
It was kind of ridiculous.
I told Greg, I was like, you should have me on again, man. Who knows what's going to happen when you have me on again,
Yeah, you're like this weird, like lucky, semi-lucky kind of charm, essentially, for just like the insane breaking news. But
yeah, exactly.
The way you handled that, and the way you were able to to vibe with him and just continue that and just build the energy that he already brings to it. So I think that's what I really appreciated about your episode.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I was happy with how mine went. My favorite thing, though, of course, was I was all over YouTube when it first got posted, and everyone kept commenting on like, "Wow, this guy in the first 5 minutes was so incredibly nervous." And my response was like, "I'm sitting next to Greg fucking Miller in their studio. Yeah. You're damn right, I was nervous.
Of course, you're fucking nervous, dude.
Scared out of my mind. I watched Justin do it the day before, and Justin knocked it out of the park. And I was like, how the hell am I gonna live up to this? Like you
guys both killed it. You guys both killed it.
And the rare time where I usually am like a person who I try to be modest. I'm like, nah, I did okay, right. I know I killed it. I've rewatched it. I'm actually really proud of how I did.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that kind of like that's the thing for myself is I actually just did an episode of Support Class the other night.
Yep.
Which is it's where I talk about mental illness and living with anxiety and stuff. And I talked about Impostor Syndrome.
One of my favorite topics.
Yeah, and it's weird, right? Like, I know, I know for a fact that I did great on Kind of Funny, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's I went back and I watched it twice to kind of analyze my performance and do a deep dive hot wash of what I had done. Hot wash is a term we used to use in the Marine Corps. Like, whenever you're done with a field exercise, okay, let's sit down and do a hot wash and talk about how it went. So if I use the term hot wash a lot, that's what it means.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, that's actually good information. I did not know that.
But I actually sat down and I did a hot wash of my time on Kind of Funny, and I was like, man, like I really did do really good. But there's still that imposter syndrome of, do I really deserve to be here? Do I really, because at the end of the day, yeah, SDGC has had a lot of help getting to where we're at. Yeah, we put in the work for 3 years, and we spend a lot of money traveling to cons. Like, nobody pays for that for us. We do it all ourselves. But still, at the end of the day, it's hard to shake that feeling of, well, this is for example, this is Kind of Funny. This is Greg Miller. He's the biggest influencer in the industry, and I'm just John running my shitty little podcast. like, do I really deserve to be in the same I don't know, I guess solar system as these guys? But the answer is yeah, I probably do. And I know for a fact you guys do.
See, and I would say the same thing back at you. I question to an extent of me, but I would say I know for a fact you do and your guys do.
Well, and if this year was any indication of what the future holds for, Constantly Calibrating and SDGC, imagine what's going to happen next year.
The thing that fascinates me, and I want to talk more about what SCGC is, so we'll double back on that. Give people the background essentially, but just we're at that point of the year. We're at the end of the year. We're at that point where you start writing. I'm not really big on resolutions, but I like to write my plans. This is essentially what I did at the end of 2017, and I posted in the first or second day of 2018, I think, on Twitter. I did a multi-thing thread, which was, this is what I want to do in 2018. And what I didn't tell people is privately, I had a list going all the way until 2021. I'm like, you know what? I've been calling Constantly Calibrating a business. I've been calling it my career out loud, but that's not how I was treating it. In many respects, and even still took me through till right now, really the end of 2018 before I really, really embraced what I said I was going to do at the beginning of the year. But of those goals, aside for 2 of them, I had hit majority of my 2018 goals by March. I hit a majority of my 2019 goals by September, and then I hit some 2020 goals, which one of them was to be on a Kind of Funny show. That was my 2020 goal.
That's awesome. You're ahead of the curve, man.
No, so now I'm at this point where I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, well, I have to reevaluate everything. So what's 2019 going to bring? And, I talk to you a lot, and I've now gotten in the habit of talking to some of our other new friends from the Kind of Funny Fear, guys from Irrational Passions, OK Beast, different people we've kind of started, branching out and talking to, and it's like 2019 is going to be a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it really will, man. For everybody involved, I think there's a lot of good things coming everybody's way. Yeah. Not just STGC and Constantly Calibrating, but OK Beast, International Passions. Alex and Blessing are doing amazing work, and
they even got featured during the Kind of Funny show.
Oh, that was so fucking good to see.
I was so happy.
Good to see. Like that was especially for Blessing, because like I know like and here's the thing, right? Like what's cool is that Greg actually mentioned like Blessing got a call out on Kind of Funny Games today as a guest that he intends to bring on. And I couldn't think of anybody more deserving to go on there than Blessing. And I'm pretty sure Alex has been on there at some point. I know him and Greg have interacted in the past before.
Greg and the team of, I think a few years ago went out to Alex's for Extra Life. Like they literally just
something like that.
And, like they were in his house or wherever their base of operations was doing Extra Life out of. So he's got, he's already had that kind of connection essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, those are two fucking hard workers right there, man.
Oh,
and both those podcasts deserve all the success that they can get, man.
Well, it's what's really funny. Not just to sidetrack thing. It's if you asked me 6 months ago, I would say I am so fucking jealous of Blessing and Alex. Like if 6 months ago, my mindset, not knowing them personally, if the Kind of Funny Game Showcase and their little, them being featured in the opening thing had happened, I probably would have been so jealous of my mind. Now knowing them and now actually really truly following their work as I have since around PAX West, since essentially I just followed everyone who took part in the website thing. Now it's just like, jealousy gone, just massive appreciation.
Yep, I agree completely.
Kind of thing. It's like, because it's just amazing to see what they've done with their brands. Because I think Constantly Calibrating has been around the longest of most of the other brands at this point, but I also didn't treat it like anything until around the same time, until like the last 2 to 3 years, really. So it's like I got, so my mental state goes through like these ebbs and flows of extreme jealousy and extreme. Dude, you didn't put the fucking effort in. What do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, dude, and like I said, man, you guys are fucking crushing it, dude. You guys are doing fantastic work.
I appreciate it. We're getting there, and we're really getting the rhythm and understanding, truly understanding what it takes to do what we want to do, and really getting the team shaped how I want it. After kind of leaving things very willy-nilly and things for a while. But enough about me and enough about that, the circle jerk back and forth between the two of us. Tell me about Superform Games Cast, a little bit about the origin and what it is you guys do.
Well, I actually just ended the entire podcast 5 minutes before I came on, so it's not even a thing anymore.
This is literally how you started OK Beast as well.
Yeah, so SCGC has been going on for about, over 3 years now. 3 years and some change. I started it mostly because my best friend of 20 years, Joel, committed suicide.
Yep.
And, that was kind of like my go-to buddy for, he's like my brother, he's like my go-to buddy for everything. And, I was in a bad place for a while after I lost Joel, but then I thought, you know what, I need to just, find some new friends and find people to talk about comics and video games and movies with. And so I hooked up with a few Twitter buddies, and I said, hey, and I didn't know these guys, but from our interactions on Twitter, I was like, hey, you know what? Start a fucking video game podcast, just see what happens. Like, and I'm like, it ain't gonna fucking go anywhere, but let's just fucking do it. And so a few of them were like, okay, that's fine. And we lost a couple guys along the way. Brian and Steve had to leave for just because life, and they couldn't commit to a podcast like that. But then more guys joined, and now 3 years later, Brandon's been there since the beginning. JT's been there.
So I just think about it for a second. I love that you've had people named Brian and Steve leave, because my people who left for reasons were Brian and Steven.
Yeah. Did you poach my guys? Did you poach my guys, man?
Nah.
But no, now these guys who were just my Twitter buddies have turned into my best friends in the whole world. As SDGC has allowed us to meet in real life. We've been to cons together. In fact, it's bringing fans of the podcast together as well. One of our chat mods, Kagasu, Julian, who's at Kagasu, he went to Finn's wedding.
Awesome.
Just a couple days ago.
Yeah, I saw pictures.
So SDGC is bringing folks together, and we will be at PAX with media passes next year. And we're looking forward to it, dude. So yeah, no, that's what we're all about. That's what we're doing. We like to foster a safe space for marginalized folks. Anybody with mental illness, any persons of color, women, we'd like to maintain a tolerant, diverse environment. And just because there's a lot of shitty behavior.
Oh yeah,
out in the world right now, and I feel we need more spaces where everybody can feel safe. And so that's what we try to do at SDGC is foster an atmosphere of inclusivity and diversity. That's the way it should be, man.
I mean, that's what I've appreciated about you guys since, pretty much since meeting you and, discovering what you guys do.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we are huge supporters and allies of the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't be bringing any of that bullshit into our fucking chat. No harassment. No nothing. No insults. You will get banned swiftly.
Oh, no, same. We have a zero tolerance policy as well. I think it's somewhere south of 0%.
And then I will dunk on you on Twitter, and that's the last fucking thing you want is me dunking on you on Twitter because my dunks are epic. I'm good, man. I can dunk.
It's the dunks heard around the world.
Yeah, that's what we do on SDGC. We just want. I don't understand the constant state of anger that some people have because here's the thing, right? Like all these guys talking about the SGWs are so triggered, they're always so outraged. These are the first guys who get pissed off.
Oh yeah,
whenever and just outraged whenever you stand up for people's rights. I just the hypocrisy just astounds me. I get a lot of people who ask me John, why do you waste your time fucking dunking on these fools on Twitter? And to a certain extent I get it. I mean people say, John, you're just giving them attention. You're just giving them and it's yeah, I get that, but here's the thing. Most of these guys that I'm criticizing are going to get the attention anyway. They're well-known people with 100,000 followers on Twitter. They're going to get the attention whether I give it to them or not.
Yep.
And I think it is important, especially with the stigma that gaming carries, because there's still a stigma in gaming, right? We're all just a bunch of fucking, fucking intolerant, misogynistic assholes sitting around in our basements.
Yep.
I think there's, and there's an element of truth to that. If you just look at, look at people who, for example, went after oh God, what was her name?
Which there's been a lot. So we talked.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that there's
I was thinking Zoe Quinn, these Sarkazians.
There's Zoe Quinn. There was there was the woman at Telltale. Woman at Telltale who spoke up about the working conditions there. She had a lot of bullshit thrown at her.
Was that Emily?
Emily
Grace Buck?
Emily, yes, exactly.
She there was the artist from on Mass Effect Andromeda. I mean, it's been a busy couple of years of women being chased.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Despite my screaming to the heavens that not all of us are like that, vast portions of the gaming community, especially the men in the gaming community, the white men in the gaming community, are doing their best to try and prove me wrong.
It's one of the main topics that I've gone after for Constantly Calibrating used to be a place. We used to have a rule in the first few years, no politics. We leave our politics at the door because, I was a very liberal, moderate to liberal minded person while my main co-host was borderline, right-wing Republican kind of thing. And we didn't want to get in a fight about that. If we're going to fight about stuff, let's fight about games. And then we reached the point last year where I literally couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut. I think it was last year. It was last year, and in the end, he ended up agreeing with me also, and also changing some of his views as well as he got older and the world shifted. So, but it was one of those things where just you reach this point where you observe the world around you, and it's I gotta say something. To your point about people saying that you shouldn't draw attention to these people, my wife always said, my wife's a behavioral analyst. She's a certified board certified behavioral analyst. She always tells me, why do you draw attention to people's bad behavior? I don't do it anywhere near as much or as often or with the oomph that you do, but I still will do it every now and again kind of thing. And she'll ask me why I do that. Why did I say something? Why did I do something? Just quietly, and I'm ignoring behavior, intention-seeking behavior may work in a real world setting, but when you're on the internet and you have, a piece of shit like PewDiePie, doing stuff and so, telling people, drawing people's attention to certain places, or other horrible, influential people, like, drawing people's eyes to stuff, silence is not.
Well, that's my thing, right? Is that like if I see that shit, sorry, like, I get that you may not want that on your timeline. Feel free to mute me. Yeah. Feel free to unfollow me.
Mute or unfollow.
But I am not the guy who's going to keep his. I'm not the guy who's going to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah,
I'm not. Because that's just not who I am. And I don't. Here's the thing: I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. At least not theirs, because I'm not going to change their fucking mind. These people that say this stupid shit. I'm not going to get through to these people. What I am doing is letting them and everybody else know that, hey, you know what? Not everybody thinks like this fucking asshole here. Okay, and you know what? If there's no pushback against this shit, then that's my problem. Is that I see a lot of fucking talk from people on Twitter, so-called progressive liberals like myself, who say, oh, we got to take a stand about this. We got to stand up for, we got to stand up for people's rights. We got to stand up for LGBTQ rights. We got to stand up for, the rights of oppressed minorities. I see a lot of fucking big talk and not a lot of follow through.
Yep.
These same people who say this shit, who say this stuff, are the first ones to say, well, don't draw attention to it. Don't. That's how we combat it. Is don't draw attention to it. I'm like, well, you're the one fucking beating the drum about how we've got to stand up for people's rights. Practice what you preach. That's what I'm going to do. If you're not going to practice what you preach, I'll practice it for you.
Yep. I mean, I think for a lot of people, it boils down to whether they want to or not. The practice what the actual making the commentary, putting their thoughts out there that you should respect and should do this, is they see it as enough because it's getting the viewpoint across. But if you're not going to actually have follow through, then I mean, what is it? What are you trying to say? And I was a person who would always, for a long time, didn't have the follow through on it, and now because I was worried that if I express my viewpoints on things or things like that, I'll lose followers, I'll lose friends. Then I had one of my oldest friends, I don't even remember what it was, but on Facebook a few months ago, make some just horrible fucking racist comment. I don't even remember what it was. Something like it was some horrible thing. And my immediate response was, "And I'm done with you." And I just said, "You know what? I'm done living quietly."
Yeah, there's no fucking room for that shit. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. So, I've got a lot of followers on Twitter, I mean, at least compared to some. I'm like at 30,000 followers, I think, on Twitter now.
3 times what I have.
If people don't like what I have to say, then, with all due respect, I mean, I'm not mad if you want to unfollow me. I'm not mad if you want to mute me, but I am not going to stop speaking out about this stuff. I'm not going to stop speaking my mind. Because to be honest with you, we need more straight white men to speak up, because not enough of them are. We need to recognize the fact that, we do have white privilege, and we need to use that for the benefit of people who don't.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line. We need to fucking recognize it. We need to identify it, and it doesn't matter what space you exist in. Doesn't matter if you exist in the gaming space. Doesn't matter if movies are your thing or comics. There's a fucking problem in this country. There's a big fucking problem, and I didn't always see it, but I do now. And I'm going to do what I can to fucking fight it by whatever means necessary, whatever I have to do. And even if that's just, yelling at people on Twitter, it sounds petty, and maybe it is, but if that's the only ammunition that I have, and then I'm going to fire it. Then that's the ammunition I'm going to load up, and that's what I'm going to do. That's my way of pushing back, is to just let people know that it's not okay to talk like this. And I don't know. I feel very strongly about it. And I feel just as strong about the fact that it's very frustrating to see that, these individuals, some of whom I interact with, some of, who I know for a fact stand for the same things I do, to just hand wave it away and then say, well, you just, you're going to draw attention to it. If you confront it, just don't worry about it. I don't understand that. I don't understand that mindset. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to push back against this, but that's just me.
I mean, it's just like the way, because it's what a lot of us were trained, I think, growing up, particularly, those of us children of the 80s and 90s, we were taught to be seen and not heard. we were taught to, you keep your opinions to yourself, you don't discuss your opinions. At least that's what I grew up hearing and grew up seeing. I come from a loudmouth family. I come from people who spoke their mind, but I was still taught that you, outside of your family, outside of your core group, you don't talk about stuff. And then with the advent of really, the internet and forums and things like that, it became a continued thing. Like, talk about things you're talk about things you're a fan of, but don't question things. Don't just be subservient and just go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck that.
Sorry to get too far down the rabbit hole on that, but when I start talking about that, like, I don't have too much of an outlet to. I'm never able to really talk about it on a podcast like this.
Well, I don't either. Like, this is I've actually been looking forward to talking to you because I knew we'd go down a little bit down this rabbit hole because it's a topic I don't get to talk very often.
And I understand why people don't want to address this stuff on their particular podcast or whatever. Sure. So, simply because you are going to draw in that crowd, and, eventually it's like, these fucking SJWs here, and, it's not, I mean, they're not going to do anything, but it's, they gum up your mentions, they gum up your chat, and that's not something that you want. But at the same time, I think every now and then you got to address it. Mm-hmm. There's a huge elephant in the room, and not enough people are willing to say, hey, look at this fucking elephant over in the corner here. Nobody's talking about that elephant. Why don't we have a discussion about why this elephant is in here? Because he's taking up all the space in the room. I can't fucking believe nobody's talking about it. That's, I don't know, man. That's a very, I've got very, let's just say you follow me on Twitter. I've got very strong opinions on the matter.
John, I have you set on alerts.
I've got very strong opinions on quite a few things.
You have strong opinions on a lot of things. My favorite thing actually on Twitter is my favorite of the horrible things, let's put it this way, is when somebody makes some comment like, yeah, I know military people will agree with me about fuck these people, or, some horrible intolerant comment about the military people will agree with me, or some kind of thing. Just, you know what I'm talking about. And then I literally just sit there. If I come across that before you've seen it, kind of thing, which is rare, but if I come across something like that, I will just sit there and just wait. Like, I'm waiting for John's response. I'm waiting for the reply.
my favorite, I feel like the best was I had two really great dunks this past year. One was when I was falsely accused of stolen valor.
Yep.
On Twitter. That was a good one. That was a real good one because that asshole actually ended up deleting all of the tweets after I posted pictures of myself in Iraq, very clearly in, Marine Corps flak and Kevlar holding an M16. And, I was like, I mean, what do you think? I don't have fucking receipts of my time in combat? Like, what are you crazy? Like, here's an article about where I was wounded. I mean, look, it's my name. It's fucking crazy how that works. Right.
Yep.
And then, but I think even better than that was, I think it was back in October when some guy on Twitter, he quote tweeted me and he called me like a socialist, communist, whatever, which is, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm not, but okay, whatever. I don't think you know what communism is.
Yeah, but you're very confused if you're. I
retweeted him with a bunch of emojis, and I was like, and he's like, "Oh, that's all you got, huh? Emojis? That's all you got? Emojis? All right, bitch." And I was like, "Yeah, that's all I got, emojis." And he says, "You know what?" He says, "I know guys like you." He's like, "You claim to have been in combat, but really all you did is pump fuel in the Marine Corps." And I was like, "Yeah, you got me, dude. That's it." I was like, but I bet you're cool. I bet you did all kinds of crazy shit in the military, man. And he says, yeah, how about the, Marine Corps Force Recon, and then he says, 2000, what was it? What year did he say he was in, doing MARSOC? MARSOC is Special Operations Command.
Okay.
And he says, yeah, I was doing MARSOC from, 2004 to 2005, bitch. What about you? And I was like, well, that's weird because MARSOC wasn't stood up until 2006. So I'll ask you again, what did you do in the Marine Corps? And it immediately blocked me and then nuked his entire Twitter account. It was glorious.
I just don't. It's beautiful, but I don't understand people who pull shit like that. For starters, if you're gonna make if you're gonna make a false claim about yourself, at least
Google,
research the topic. You're right.
Google it. I mean, dude, you're talking to a no shit Marine. Like, did you think I wasn't gonna know? Like, come on, man.
Marines by nature, one of the few things I know, is is proud people, and with justifiable reasons. So you think you're going to tell someone I did this thing, and
you think I'm not going to look into you?
Yeah, like, you're going to just sit there and just like, oh, I guess this guy's telling the truth.
I'm assuming that you're going to. I'm just going to assume. Like, I mean, come on. Like, especially when you tell me that you did MARSOC from 2005 or from 2004 to 2005. I'm like, my dude. Like, my brother, like, no. So, I honestly couldn't believe that happened. I was like, what the fuck? I mean, dude, that was wild. That was fucking wild.
Yeah, I've got to say, since I started following you, this is legit. Listen, I've legitimately seen a completely different side of like Twitter and just the internet in general, because it's just stuff I never thought I saw before.
It's gotten to the point where like people DM me this shit. They're like, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Dunk on it. Dunk on it. You got to dunk on it. You should dunk on it." I'm like, okay, like I can't dunk on. Like I'm not gonna dunk on everything,
Yeah.
Which is why I had to tweet out a few weeks ago. I was like, hey, it's cool sending me dunks. That's fine. Like, can we calm down on sending me the dunks a little bit? Like I'm not going to dunk on everything. I'm not going to dunk on everybody. You don't have to DM me this stuff. Like I get a ton of it, so
there's enough shit going on out there. You don't need to,
I don't need help. I got it. It's okay.
So dunking and that kind of stuff, aside. So, I mean, aside from that, like there's plenty of other stuff that you do and, you're known for. One of my favorite things on the internet, honestly, at this point, is watching you defend certain games that you are passionate about, and watching other people just maliciously rip into you for Octopath Traveler, just different things like that. And so, I mean,
most of the Octopath Traveler stuff isn't good fun.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, let's say rip into you. But, like, I mean, trust me, I understand. But like from an outside perspective, if I know most of the people you're friends with and who rip into you, and I'm either friends with or acquaintances with. So like, but I imagine from an outside perspective, people are like, wow, there are some fucking assholes associated.
Yeah, there are. But honestly, dude, like I don't. It's important to not give those people the time of day.
I know.
Like I mean, who fucking cares? And at the end of it, who gives a shit? Like I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
The people can say what they. I mean, dude, like let's face it. Like I'm very popular in some circles and extremely unpopular in some, and that's life. Like nobody's gonna like everything you have to say. I mean, there are people right now who get upset about my video game opinions on Twitter, and that's fine. Like you're entitled to do that. That's okay. I don't have to respond to it. I don't have to engage it simply because it really, it's mostly the guys who have they follow 1,000 accounts, but they've got 10 followers.
Yeah.
Why would I even bother engaging with you? Like, who are you're no one. Like, why would I, and that's not to say that my engagement with you is based on your Twitter followers, because it's not. I'll engage with anybody as long as you're fucking polite and respectful to me.
Oh yeah.
But if you come at me, with bullshit, and I see that you're just some nobody, I'm not gonna. What the fuck would I entertain that for? I'm not gonna do that.
Yep. Oh, fair enough. I thought, what was it gonna be? So with. I don't know, wow, I actually just spaced, like I completely and utterly just, John, what am I doing?
You totally did.
What am I doing here? I just I had follow-ups. They're gone. No, so let's shift gears. Let's talk about, we're at the end of the year. We're at the end of the year with gaming stuff. We're at the end of the year with this. I want to talk to you about what, you could name multiple, but what is your best gaming experience for 2018? Would you say? And I people are going to be sick of hearing this example from me by the time they hear this episode. But this is the example I keep giving. Is I don't think while I love the story and I love the aspects of it, I don't think Spider-Man was a perfect game by any means, but was perfection for me was swinging around New York. Even after I completed 100% of that game, had literally nothing to do, I would just continue to swing around that city, just because it made me feel alive. There are other games as well that I'm actually gonna write a whole article about my experience, like my favorite experiences of gaming this year. But like that's the top one for me. So I was wondering if it's something, what strikes you?
So I would, there's two of them. One is probably the opening scene of God of War, which I know I've discussed on other podcasts. And I actually had a really amazing discussion about it with Corey Barlog at PAX West. We were sitting at the same table and just got on like a 40 minute discussion on the kind of the creation behind God of War, which is a fascinating talk to have. And I mentioned to Corey,
very jealous about that conversation, but yes,
it was dope. It was really cool. And I mentioned to Corey, I said, which, and by the way, that's another thing that's wild about 2018, right? I'm sitting here telling you, like, I was talking to Corey Barlog at PAX West, and
2018 is the year of the name drop and the justifiable name drop.
yeah, it really is. But what stood out to me the most about God of War, it was an amazing game. It's one of my two choices for game of the year. But what stood out to me the most about God of War was the look of sorrow and regret on Kratos' face as he's looking at that tree, that golden handprint, which is the look that only a soldier has after, years of combat, looking back with regret on all the choices that he's made, all the mistakes he's made, knowing that he can't correct them. Knowing that all those people he's killed are gone and dead, and there's nothing you can do about that now. It's all dust in the wind. Leaves in the air, so to speak, and that look on Kratos' face is just like, I've done all these things, I've committed all these acts, and there's absolutely nothing I can do to change any of it. That's the look that a soldier has, and I think it's interesting when the developer in that moment is like speaking to you from across whatever distance there is, and putting something in the game that is solely for you that not everybody's going to pick up on. And that's what I told to Corey, and he said, that's exactly what I was going for. He said, and you were the first person to actually get that. He said, that was exactly what I was going for. And then my other,
which is beautiful. Honestly, I want to see the opening moments of God of War again, purely since hearing you telling that story the first time.
You should do it. You should do it, man.
I know. I need to finish the game in the first place, let alone start it up again.
Oh, you haven't finished it yet? Oh.
It came out 10 days before Sora was born. So I was playing it at night leading up to his birth, and then he was born, and
furiously trying to get through it.
Yeah, pretty much furiously trying to get through it. I'm pretty sure I have like less than 10 hours left.
It's a long game.
It's a long game. I think I have somewhere like 10, maybe 15 hours left, based on what I've heard, based on where I was. But it's just one of those things. The kid's born, and then it's like, you got to do what you got to do. Once you step away from it, also from like a game that's it's not a complicated game, but it is a complicated game. Once you step away from it for like that 2 to 3 weeks, it's suddenly like, I'm gonna get back to it. But then you don't. So it's on my list to finish in January. So.
But yeah, so and then my other best gaming moment from this year, I guess, is just like the feelings of, I don't know, I guess the feeling of, it's almost akin to comfort food when it comes to Octopath Traveler, because Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, and those are my favorite games of all time. And Octopath Traveler, from a visual combat standpoint, is very clearly the spiritual successor to Final Fantasy VI. It's basically what would have happened if the Super Nintendo had just kept going and continued to evolve. And I feel like those are some of the best games ever made. And Octopath Traveler just ticked every one of those boxes that I needed ticked. Old school JRPG, beautiful, 2D pixel art that looks like one of my favorite games of all time. Incredible soundtrack, some really interesting stories to tell. It just, I absolutely loved it. The whole game was just phenomenal. And playing it, I dropped over 100 hours in Octopath Traveler, and just, playing it just kind of took me back over the years, and gave me just a very comforting, that's why I call it comfort food. It's just a very warm, comforting feeling, a sense of, or feeling of familiarity whenever I played that game. It's one of those games, like, 'cause I think everybody has those games that they replay on a regular basis, like I play Final Fantasy VI annually. I play Super Mario World mostly annually. Chrono Trigger, Super Metroid. I play all these games like every year, right? I'll put aside some time and I'll finish these games. Octopath Traveler will be added to that list, along with like games like The Last of Us.
Pretty outstanding. Yeah, no, we all have those games. I mean, for me, I replay Super Mario RPG Legend 7 Stars just about every year. I play Grim Fandango on my birthday every single year for 20 plus years now. No, so we all have those different kind of games. So I'm always interested also in seeing what people's comfort food is, and the way you talk about Octopath Traveler, like the reverence you've put into it over the last, well, at least the 3 months I've known you, has just been like very clear. How much that game means to you.
I love that game.
Yeah. It's literally makes my honestly, when you get into a good talk about that game, it honestly makes my chest hurt a little bit that I have not even touched the demo
it's
of
so
it.
good. It's so good. You need to at least try the demo and see if it's for you.
No, I know. It's installed on the Switch. It's just,
what are you waiting for? Do it. Do it.
Do you know how many fucking review codes I have installed on that goddamn system right now?
I know.
It's literally just a case of what's the priority? What am I actually going to write and talk about, and what's gonna move the career forward, that incremental notch, versus what I'm going to get what I theoretically might get enjoyment and distracted about. Then again, you joined in on a conversation with mutual friends of ours from Evolve PR yesterday about a certain book club concept. So hell, maybe that'll be the thing that gets me to try it, if that project ever becomes an actual thing, and not just Broad and I going back and forth as we sometimes.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that.
It's been one of my it's on my list of 3 dream projects that I've had since early last year. And Christine in chat is saying, "Do it." It's on that list of things. I've had pretty much this year was Proper Villains podcast. It was one of my dream projects to launch, which did not launch as well as I would have liked. But that's the nature of life and things.
Yeah,
and
that's the spice of life, man. Nothing ever goes the way you planned it initially.
Yep. The book club thing is an idea I've had for a while now. And then there's another show which, due to circumstances with now a former Constantly Calibrating member, I legally lost rights to the name and some stuff. It's my fault. It's legitimately 100% my fault. So I hope in that aspect, I hope harbor no ill will. But it's still it's a concept we're gonna push forward on with different partners in 2019. So I have 3 dream projects that I've been wanting to work on. One of them's already launched and has gotten good feedback, and it's just way harder than I thought it was going to be. And the other 2, hopefully I can do in 2019. Then again, I was also playing, I'm not going to any events in 2019, and now I'm going to be at PAX South, and I don't know if I told you this, John, due to realization, I'm going to be at PAX East.
Yes.
Because here's the thing, the Friday at PAX East, assuming a podcast continue releasing as they have every Friday, the 300th episode of Constantly Calibrating is the Friday at PAX East.
Well, yeah, you absolutely need to be there.
So I need to be even though technically speaking, episodes release on the Fridays, we can make an exception here to, so something's going to happen that Friday. I'm determined to find a way to make something happen that Friday of PAX East. I'm just working out the logistics of what it's going to be.
That's awesome, dude.
Because we did jack shit for I think for 200, because it was a dark place in my life and I didn't do anything about it. But it's like 300, man. Like something's gotta, we're at a place right now like that. Something has to happen. Something fun.
Yeah, you gotta do stuff, man. No, and that's a great place to do it. PAX East is a lot of fun. Have you been to PAX East yet?
I've only ever done West at this point.
It's a fucking blast.
I've done West for 3 years, and I'm doing my first South and first East next year.
It's a fucking blast, man.
I mean, West was like this big deal for me this past West, because it was suddenly we talked about you talked about Impostor Syndrome back at the top of the show. After E3 was my first E3. Justin, myself, and Kevin Wallace, who's actually now our guest acquisitions person, we did just a talk on Impostor Syndrome and how the short of it is, prior to E3, I had severe Impostor Syndrome, and weirdly enough, E3, going to the biggest event and being in front of all these people and getting into parties and like literally wandering in. I from years of watching E3 coverage and stuff like that, like the Twitter stuff, I knew where the bars were that people hung out at and stuff like that. Like I'd learned all that information. So like I knew where to be at night and stuff. So I'd be at these places where it's like, oh, there's, all the kind of fun people who I know but never really hung out with. And there's, all the What's Good Games people. And there's all these different, people from like content creators, but then up to developers and all these things. So I'm in this place where I should have had imposter syndrome, and for the first time in my life, literally anywhere ever, I actually felt like I belonged. It actually kind of killed my imposter syndrome. I ended up at a party, which I found out after I thought it was going to be a small birthday party for someone. Turned out it was actually the biggest party of E3 I'd gotten invited to, and just like those kind of things. And like, I finally felt like I truly belonged in something. PAX West only built on that, where, you know, we're talking about name dropping. I'm in a bar one night and, like, you know, I'm having drinks with, you know, with Greg Miller and Patrick Klepek, and off to my left there's Justin Roiland, the creator of Rick and Morty, having drinks with a couple of friends of mine, and then, you know, there's Kyle Gatto making the rounds. Like, all these different people, like, I can name drop and stuff like that. And there's Mike Laidlaw, who remembers me from when I literally remembered me from a year earlier when I stumbled over explaining a connection we had with a mutual friend because I could not suddenly remember how to pronounce her name in the moment. Like,
no, that's fantastic. No, dude, Mike Laidlaw is genuinely just a good dude. We had him on SDGC a while back for an interview, and then 6 months later, I ran into him at PAX East, and he knew exactly who I was.
Yep,
and that was before Greg Miller, or Kind of Funny, or way before any of that.
Oh, for sure. Well, no, he's a good guy, but like, so what I'm saying is, like, E3 was the moment where I suddenly felt like I belonged. PAX West was like the event where I was like, damn, this makes sense to me. So it was the point I was trying to make is we entered this point where a bunch of people asked me if I was going to PAX South. I've never been to that event. Well, you need to go to PAX South. Okay, if this is the only opportunity I get to hang out with these people again, I'll go to PAX South. And now it's like, oh, I get to go to East and hang out with these people again. So I'm just excited to have 4 to 5 guaranteed events next year where I get to feel like I'm part of something and not just a guy sitting in his broken down office trying to make sense of my career, where I'm actually in the industry.
Well, right now you are where you belong, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, like, I'm not trying to do like a pity party or anti-pity party or anything like that. Just saying, like, the ability to go to these events, as you well know, it's like it takes you from being the guy in your office in whatever your setting is to suddenly it's like, oh, right, these people are the reason, or one of the reasons I do this.
Absolutely.
Is my favorite moment of PAX West was being at the messenger party and chatting with you, and then you and Justin and Sean from Evolve PR, and then Sean and I going off to the side, and Sean and I having this very drunken but beautiful conversation for about like an hour is probably one of my highlights of that event, because just that connection, you know, that desperate connection, I guess you could say.
That's Sean from Evolve?
Yeah, Sean from Evolve.
I remember he knew me at the Messenger launch party because of my fucking meme, because of that dumb meme.
Yep, he's the one who made it clear to you, yeah, you've become a meme at this point. Which
he was the one who broke the news to me. I was like, what? Really? Wow.
Yep. That was
that was something else. That was fun.
Let's talk about that. By the way,
that was a meme.
What's it like being a meme now? The fact that your hat, the beanie you're wearing right now, is now part of your brand, essentially. In a way,
I mean, you know, you gotta kind of embrace it, right? Yep. You know, it's one of that's why that's why now I'm wearing the fucking Enter the Gungeon beanie all the time. Like, so, you know, Devolver, if you want to, you know, pony, you know, I just, you know, like, you know, sponsorship, or, you know, maybe come on STGC for an interview, just letting you know, I should probably tweet that. At them.
You should tweet that. You should tweet that and like tell Stephanie Tinsley you have an idea.
Yeah. Exactly.
She'd be the person to say, like, hey, I got ideas. So it's it was just fascinating to watch, because like I'd seen your picture get tweeted out a couple times, like at that point that day. But like then having Sean come over and be like, yeah, dude, like I know you from this kind of thing. I was like, that was good. That was amusing as hell.
That was funny. That was really funny. I got a huge kick out of that. And actually, I tweeted at Genevieve, the next morning.
Yep.
And she says, "The hat guy," and she immediately followed me on Twitter. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Genevieve is the best.
She's a wonderful person.
She's one of my favorites.
Her and Greg are perfect together.
No, they're perfect together. I've said it before. They are pretty much my favorite. I guess you could say celebrity couple, essentially. Yeah. Like they're pretty much my favorite celeb couple. I mean, Greg is definitely, and she's extremely well known in the industry as well.
I would agree.
is still one of my top 3 dream guests to have on the podcast. But every time
Stephanie Tinsley?
No. Jen.
Oh, Jen. I thought you said Stephanie. I thought you said, I would love to have Jen on SGGC.
Every time I've told Jen this like 3 times, and every time her response is, nobody will understand my accent. And I'm like, don't worry, nobody will be watching. And you get a nice little chuckle smile back and forth, with usually followed by like a nice, hug.
Yeah. She's a good person.
She's a good person. I always enjoy interactions with her. So, anything else going on? So, you have, with PAX East coming up, you have, it's not confirmed because I don't believe any of the panel stuff, but you have a plan for a panel, correct? Anything you can discuss with that? Or
no, not yet. I'm still trying to rope people into it.
Okay.
Still kind of formulating the idea in my head.
All I know is from what you had said on Twitter and different places privately, I'm very excited for it. So
I'm excited too. I mean, if it doesn't happen, whatever. Sure. Like, I'm not that worried about it. I'm sure I'll get asked to be on a panel at some point.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not entirely. I mean, it would be nice to get my first panel going.
Yep.
But at the same time, dude, I'm sure I'll be involved in something, so I'm not too worried about it.
Oh no, we'll all find ways to be involved in different ways. So no doubt about that. All right. Well, I kind of hit my the end of my little doc here that I had in place. So I don't know. Is there any other thoughts? Any other things? Any other stuff you'd like to express to the universe?
Go play Octopath Traveler. It's a fantastic game.
Fair enough.
Best JRPG this generation.
Fair enough. I'll take it. So, John, where can people find you?
You can find me in the hellscape known as Twitter, at Mr. Negative with an M. Mm-hmm. You can also find, I would highly recommend you go check out at official SDGC on Twitter. That is the official Twitter of Super Core Gamescast. And of course, we go live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this week, we will have Alex from Irrational Passions on. So please tune in for that. It's going to be a good episode.
I would love to tune in for that, legitimately. So that's awesome.
Going to be the good shit right there.
I'm excited to see. Or probably see and hear. Probably hear, because that's usually how I intake podcasts these days, because I have no time to actually be live anyone's show, and it's frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, cool, John. Thank you.
Of course, dude.
For anyone else, thank you all for joining us this week. This show is live as we get guests right here on mixer.com/ConCalPod, or on Facebook at facebook.com/ConstantCalibrating, Twitter at ConCalPod. I'm at Bear Punch. Check Instagram at instagram.com/ConstantCalibrating. But most importantly, you can check out our Discord at constantlycalibrating.com/Discord to get the most up-to-date info on everything related to constant calibrating, including bonus entries for contests and the ability to further influence our content. Oh, don't forget constantlycalibrating.com. That site is kind of important. Just a little bit. Please make sure to leave us a review wherever you're able to. It really does help get the podcast in front of more listeners. iTunes and Spotify do help the most. And with that, bid you a good sign-off.